And good afternoon. It is Wednesday, December 18th, 1:30 p.m. We'll call it 1:30-ish here on December. And every single month, how lucky are we? We get Newport leaders to join us for a conversation. And earlier today, we had Newport City Manager Colleen Kennedy. You can see that conversation on whatsupnewp.com now. He went way over time, and we don't expect her to do that today. But Newport School Superintendent Colleen Jermain joins me. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very well. So Colin took some of my time, eh?
Well, he went.
So that you're right by the bridge and you're ready to go. So
there you go.
Colin's answers are very in depth, and he went about 50 minutes this morning. So
wow, good for him. Good for him. He's
But,
got a big job.
Yes, he is very good. And what I'm going to do is let Frank take this away while I go to look to see what questions we may have for the superintendent today.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan.
First of all, Colleen, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and Festivus for the rest of us, as some people say.
Let me stay on that for just a half second. Do you teach much about Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa does come into our schools. Yes, we do. We do. We celebrate.
Yeah, I find I wish people would really get to know that, because it's a really beautiful holiday with incredible principles. And then I see all three Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa all revolve around lights.
They do.
Right? The candles of Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and the Christmas lights. So interesting. Another discussion though.
Yeah.
Let me get some of the perfunctory things out of the way. How are we doing at Rogers?
Rogers is coming along great. If you, as I say every month, if you haven't driven by, you need to. It's just amazing. It's getting fully closed in. I think they've almost sealed the whole building now, so we don't have to worry about outside elements. They've been lifting a lot with the cranes up onto the top roof with the rooftop units, etc. We had a fire drill today, so the students were actually outside and they could see the cranes bringing things off the top of the building, bringing them down. It's coming along. Today we discussed our what did we talk about? We talked about furniture and the furniture delivery and what's going to happen. And yes, Ryan, I see you threw that 265 days at me during my answer. So yes, we are excited. 265 days, less than a year. We're getting there.
On track?
We're on track. In June, we get the keys handed over. We do have a big decision and a big, I don't know if you've heard about it. There's been a redesign ask of our architect to try to keep the Newport Area Career Technical Center, the NACTAC building, because we still have not been able to find the funding to keep the two programs, cosmetology and automotive, in the new building. We did have a plan B for automotive to go over to the Navy base. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. One of the top priorities for our new school committee, which just was sworn into office on December 1st, is to prioritize keeping the cosmetology and auto programs. And in order to do that immediately, they want to keep the actual structure of the career and tech building, so we can keep those two programs on campus. It's not ideal, but at the same time, we don't have our students having to be bused to different locations to go to their vocational programs, to their CTE programs. So we're very excited. We're keeping our fingers crossed because we need to look at the costs of redesign. And as one of our members states, it's all about the sewer line. We got to check the sewer line and make sure the sewer line can be put in so that we can have that hold on that building.
Is that being done with the expectation that in the future yet a new career and tech building would be built?
It is. The Rogers High School building has all the other career and tech programs in it. So that's been our challenge. We haven't been able to put the last two programs, automotive and cosmetology, into the new building. So we do have plans. It's almost like a plug and play. if where we know exactly where they can go. We have the utilities, all set up. If we go to build the programs into the new building, it's just that we don't have the funding at this time. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can keep the NACTech building. It not only solves that problem, it also solves a problem for Ms. Nash and myself, where we don't have to travel in the Winnebago, and we'll have a place we can go. And we are also, as part of the new school committee's, I'll say, top goals, they would really like us to explore putting grade 5 into Pell. For the public, Pell has never housed grade 5. And I think a lot of people in the community think we moved it to Thompson. We did not. Pell has always only been PK through 4. And now with declining enrollment, and now with the possible opportunity to move the grade 5 back, and I would say that would be probably a year of study. It wouldn't happen for another 2 years. It certainly will not happen in the immediate school year coming up, but possibly in 2 years, we could move grade 5 into Pell and keep the NACTech building over here on the Rogers site, and have that be purely for administration, and also to keep continuing housing cosmetology and auto until we can get that into the new building. And at the same time, we'll have some space for storage, and possibly, as Director Young likes to say, we may be able to experiment with some other CTE programming. We are looking at Thompson as a possible pathway for additional new programs. And that's part of the reasoning for thinking of placing grade 5 over a Pell. What we'd like to do is possibly expand our computer technology, cyber programming, and start a little bit more advanced work at Thompson. And then they're also looking at the carpentry technology, using some of the space over at technology to possibly, at Thompson, to try to house some of that. Those are all discussion points right now, but they're also part of the goals for our new school committee.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to ask Colleen, when is the definitive decision or hope that the NACTech building is being saved? When do you think that decision will be made?
March 1st.
There you go.
We also today, again, we had another meeting with the designer, and we spoke to him about when he could have his renderings ready. And then we have to get that out to bid. So we're hoping I know we just went through the agenda for January 14th. We're going to put on the January 14th agenda, we are going to put an update on the renderings and the drawings to keep NACTech. And then we're going to try to fast pace getting some bids and pricing for that work and see how much the total costs are, because that in itself may be a funding challenge. The good news is I'm going to say we have quite a few people on the city council that support this, and they've been very positive about it. And we're hoping that if we do need to do a reach out for something like this, we may have some backing. But that's, we all hope to work together collaboratively and work to, do what's best for our students and community. At the same time, I'm going to put it out there. We all know it's going to be a very, very tough budget season for everyone. And I don't know, and I did not have the chance to listen to the city council, to the city manager this morning. I don't know if that came up with him, but I know from the school department side, we have a lot of work to do.
We were saving CIP and budget season for our January talk.
Okay. There you go.
So we know if all fails, automotive will go to the base, right?
Yes, no matter what. Yes.
What about cosmetology?
Cosmetology, we had suspended taking freshmen for the program. We have some alternatives here on campus that we can help them to get through the hours they need to do. And then we have some possible partners with salons. It's not ideal, but Director Young does have a plan B for that if necessary. So we do have a plan to keep it going for those in the program, no matter what. We will continue our commitment there. And then on the other side of it, just this news alone has generated phone calls and letters of interest for freshmen in case the March 1 decision is to keep it here on campus. Director Young already has young people signing up for the course for cosmetology.
So would I be correct to say that that's a very popular course?
Oh my goodness, yes, Frank. Cosmetology, auto, culinary, carpentry, very popular.
So in this new outlook of really almost like a school to work thing, they're training kids for what they're going to do next, and seems to be really important.
It is. And also at the same time, if you speak to some of our graduates from these programs, many of them have helped to support them if they do decide to go on to a 2-year or a 4-year college. It's added income to help them to be able to do so. So it works both ways. As we've mentioned many a time, and a lot of these programs, CTE programs, when we put them fully into the schedule, we made certain that students would have a wide range of choices as far as their academics, meaning that if they want to be in AP courses, if they want to be in supplemental, if you take junior ROTC, you can, which grants many scholarships. You can also take an additional CTE program, hands-on program, or enroll in AP, general ed, or honors. So we try to make sure we know one size does not fit for all children and young people, and we want to keep that theme alive as we move forward.
Interesting you say that. I want to come back to that in a moment, but let me ask you another couple of quick questions. How are we doing with attendance?
Attendance, if you go on the leaderboard every day, I'm very happy to say that every day there's an improvement from last year. Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. And that's why we need a lot of help from families, community, caregivers, stressing the importance of being in school and academic success. No one can ever take your education away from you. And we want our young people to understand that opening the doors for their future and many options requires a good education, graduating from high school, and then moving on. So we still need a lot of help. We are looking at and comparing how our students are doing from a year ago. There have been improvements in a lot of areas, but we still need that attendance to go up. And in order for academic success to go up, we need them to be in school learning.
I'm going to shift gears quickly. How are we doing with the teachers and the dispute? That's still on.
You did not see the press release. Last night. Santa came early.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So maybe this is the first time it's being public, but there is a press release out because I did receive it. Last night, school committee did accept proposals. And as our chair said, the committee is committed to providing excellence in education through collaboration with our educators, parents, me, and the community working with our teachers. So we're very happy to hear, like I said, Santa came early. Now we move forward and we continue the work we have in front of us.
So explain to me what does that mean about all that's out there pending, the arbitrations, the unfair labor practices? Do they go away? Are they still there?
Nope, everything went away. Santa came early.
And so in practicality, does that mean the teachers now are in agreement with what you've put out there in terms of your philosophy, your approach?
The proposal that they presented to the committee was accepted. So we will work and move together and move forward to make it happen. So we're looking forward to a positive year.
Can you enlighten us a little bit about that proposal?
I don't believe the document is public yet. I will say it it does involve making sure that we have the correct certified teachers in our classrooms, which has been what we're all about as far as multi-language learners, etc. So we are all in agreement that we do need teachers with that certification, as well as we'll be opening more classrooms next year. So we're trying to put all that together as we speak. But I just want to make sure the documents are all, I know last night, I believe everything was signed after the meeting, but I have not received the signed copy yet, just the press release.
It's possible. We would love to get a copy.
I'm sure you will. We will forward it on.
Excellent. Ryan, you're muted.
Ryan
I'm just here to confirm we did not receive a press release.
Pardon?
I'm just here to confirm we did not receive a press release.
Oh, okay.
And last night's meeting was executive session, which is why we did not promote it or cover it or talk about it. We are not. So just letting people know that said, well, how come you guys haven't already reported on this? It was all when you're discussing bargaining and staffing and things like that, that happens in executive session.
Correct.
And that's why you have not seen coverage from it. That's all.
Yes. So
we've reported it now. So that's good.
And I have to say, I'm standing here now, and I'm hoping it's okay. I said this whole line. I have it in front of me for immediate release.
Where's my magnifying glass?
Well, I'll say it because I thought it, and now people are going to be like, that would make sense of why our comments are not going crazy today. That's all I'm going to say.
That's right. Everyone's getting ready for the holidays. Friday is our last day. 2 more days.
This is why I passed the mic.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump to staffing real quickly. How are we in terms of teachers? We're all staffed.
We are fully staffed right now. Absolutely. Yes. We have our staff. Yep. We're fully staffed.
One of the things that
the future is going to be challenging. I am going to tell you that. And I think everyone's clearly aware of that because of our budget concerns. So my leadership team, my director of finance, everyone's been working very hard. And we've already had 2 sessions. We had another strategy session this morning. And we'll be coming out with some numbers right after the new year of that gap and how we plan on trying to address it.
On to another position, and that's social workers. I recently read through the CDC's Centers for Disease Control, their latest report on mental challenges for some of the kids in school. The numbers, I was blown away. 53% of female students were feeling somehow mentally challenged in school. The numbers that contemplate and actually attempt suicide are extraordinary. And one of the things that they are saying, or at least that report, or maybe another I read, was that schools are not fully staffed when it comes to social workers, and there's a desperate need to be able to fill those positions. How are we looking in Newport?
We are fully staffed. We have been very fortunate here in Newport that we also took advantage of some federal grants and state grants that came out that provide service providers to the school to help us because, to your exact point, the difficulty of finding certified staff. And especially, we've had this conversation before, especially finding staff that's bilingual, especially for a district like us, that almost 40% of our students are Hispanic and 20% plus are English language limited. So we are, in that way, I have to say, Director Candace Andrade and working with Director Mooney, and Director All, actually, from the professional development area, we are trying our best not only to provide support staff in the schools, we are also trying to provide professional development for our teachers and our administrators. A good example is a software program that Director Mooney has put in to help our teachers and staff with students that are English limited, language limited. It's called Elevations This morning, Principal Vance and some of his team were on that professional development. I attended an after-school professional development with the Pell staff about a week ago. And those kind of things, that's for ELL, to be able to learn what children are capable of. On the other side, just like with special ed, just like with students that are experiencing social emotional learning, we have experts in the schools. We have access online for our students, which again, Director Andrade had that put in place over a year ago. And we need to continue professional development for our staff and all of us to know what are the signs, and how do we de-escalate or help support. So it's not surprising, unfortunately, after COVID, the amount of, I'll say, emotional distress that we see in our young people, all the way from kindergarten through high school. And we're here to support. But it is challenging. And Newport is fortunate because we have been applying for those grants when they become available, and we have been seeking out different opportunities.
You mentioned the term a little while ago of one size fits all. And I was reading what I thought was
Doesn't.
It doesn't. That's exactly my point when I read this. In 1989, 49 governors and President George H.W. Bush convened with the predetermined goal of improving the quality of American education. The primary means for achieving this goal was the standardization of learning expectations to be monitored via yearly testing. In the 35 years since the summit, federal and state legislators have relied on a one-size-fits-all education model. Governments have focused more on what schools are teaching rather than who they are teaching. However, the idea that every school can and should be teaching the same things in the same way has failed miserably. For example, 2/3 of high school students report being disengaged, and some inner city schools have zero students testing at grade level in math, and have zero students testing in grade level at math and reading. I could go on with this. I found that to be interesting reading in this whole thing because I've had a conversation about standardized testing, and I speak to 4 superintendents regularly. You, Gina Picard in Charahoe, the superintendent in Stonington, and also Westerly. And I always ask the question about standardized testing and whether that's a good thing or not.
Okay, so standardized testing is literally a benchmark to see where everyone is on the same test, right? That's what we're doing. And the expectations are that no matter what or where a child attends school, one should always be excelling or meeting whatever that expectation is on the standardized test. Having said that, it's always, to us, it's a snapshot of where we are, but it is something we do have to pay attention to see if there's any type of growth or change based on the materials that we're supposed to be implementing in our classrooms. RIDES work as far as what they call highly qualified materials for curriculum is one of their steps to help ensure that, to the point I believe I heard in that passage, that it's not about the student, it's about what we're teaching. And they try to guarantee that with the materials we're using. I will take a step back and say it is about the student. And I don't know if standardized testing it's one measure that shows whether or not we know the material that's on that test.
Well, actually, what this said is exactly that. It says governments have focused more on what schools are teaching rather than who they are teaching.
Correct.
So focusing on the tests instead of on the students.
Correct. And if you look at the history of, I'm going to just speak to public education. Public education is far more than just reading, writing, arithmetic. Public schools have become environments that take care of health, wellness, making sure children are safe, providing shelter. We do, clothe properly, have enough food when they arrive at school, and whether they have enough food when they leave school. So what our focus is should and always will be what the classroom and instruction. We also have to understand that the children that come into our classrooms are not the same children from other districts that come in from a very different environment with when their entry point as far as where they are in their learning is very different. And you can take children, for instance, who in their younger grades, which those grades, those PK through, I'm going to say 2 grade levels, you're going to have some children that have had lots of experiences, been to museums, been traveling, been to parks, had a lot of engagement. And then you're going to have other children that haven't done anything or possibly haven't had the luxury of being able to do those things that come in at a very different entry point. In a public school, the expectation is no matter where or what, we're like the Statue of Liberty. We accept all children that come in, no matter what language they speak or don't speak, and we address whatever they need in order to be successful and make education gains. I don't know if we can separate what you're saying and what the passage says based upon all the things we're required to do right now beyond what's in the classroom instruction. And it's very difficult.
What they're
Is that making sense?
Yeah, it does. And what they're suggesting, I don't know whether it's possible in the current budget environment, because they're saying that research suggests that students are more likely to thrive in environments that offer personalized learning experiences tailored to their interests and abilities. In one study, students in schools using personalized learning methods outperformed their peers in math and reading over 2 school years. And then it goes on. I don't know whether you can afford to have, that sounds like you need a lot more teachers in order to be able to do that.
I don't know if it's about more teachers, because this is what I'm going to say. If our graduation rate in the CTE programming, that graduation rate is 95 to 96%, where overall for Rogers High School, it ranges from, I think it's at 82 now, but 80 to 85. And that in itself shows exactly what that article is saying. When people are able to develop their skills and their passions and focus on that, they do learn better and they do learn more. And they then from there build the confidence in their own efficacy of being able to take on new challenges. And the other thing about that, Frank, is if people aren't familiar with CTE, you're with the same instructor for 4 years that really gets to know the child and it knows the child, knows the family, everything. And that in itself, having worked in a very small district in which the art and music teacher in a PK through 8 district had the same children all along, the relationships, the knowing the children, the ability to get them to succeed is so different from when from year to year children go to new adults and have to make adjustments.
And I wanted to take a look at the state just came out with its report card. And part of what I was looking at also is I don't think, just in my mind, you can't compare one district to another. You just have to look at the district and how it's doing. What's your take on the Newport results?
The Newport results, I'll say for Pell, are not unexpected. And the reason I say that is because of the actions we took this year and we changed the model. We had been looking at the data and we had been studying results in achievement and growth. And for the audience and for others, the school dropped from a 2-star school to a 1-star school. And the reason for that was for lack of achievement and growth in ELA. And I know I'm going to call it a bitter pill for all of us because no one likes to see that. But as I said, this was something that we were having conversations about and looking at. And for the past 2 to 4 years, we were looking at the data and we knew that something needed to change. So we've started a new model. We're focusing on the tier 1 instruction, implementing the new curriculum we have, providing lots of professional development. I'm confident and I know our teachers can do this. I think it's just with a lot of structure, a lot of focus, and just staying on their grade level and their material, not all these other things, that we can move the children and grow them. The other factor is, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but to your point about mental health, SEL, COVID did a lot. And the 3rd grade that is now there, I believe they're the grade that was most impacted, or they're now in 4th grade. Those things we see and we know. So Newport has a lot of work to do. We have Pell and we have Thompson that are 1-star schools. And then we have Rogers that is a 2-star. And I'm going to say this, if you look at the report card, Rogers did very well in a lot of its stars. It has the impact to move to 3 or 4. So we're hopeful. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but our focus right now is the attendance, getting the students into school, because we still have, if you go on that report card and you look at the absenteeism tab, go to that for the schools and look at what the absenteeism rate is for those schools, and then the impact it has when you look at the other data of the students, you can see there's a direct correlation. So we need to continue on that. We need to keep making the phone calls. We need to have the relationships and keep stressing the importance of everyone being in school.
A couple of numbers that jumped out at me with challenges that I think you face.
Frank,
yep.
1 second. We're over time, so I just want to make sure the superintendent has the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I just have a couple more questions. But I just wanted to take a look at and observe. When I take a look at multi-language learners, it says the district is at 18.5% versus the state at 13.5%, which
Correct.
is a pretty big difference. I thought we were a little bit more than that. That 18.5 sounds a little bit low.
Right. It is. We are at 20%. The 18.5, I'd have to look at what exactly, if they're only looking at the children that were tested, or are they looking at the entire district?
Another one that jumped out at me was students with disabilities has a district at 23.3% versus a state at 17.4%. That also is a significant difference.
Correct. And so that's another indicator about what we need to focus on as far as classroom instruction. When we have a lot of children, and again, I don't want to use it as an excuse, we've also gone through COVID. But again, when we're looking at instruction and you have that high a special ed population, or I'll just say a referrals, that says something in itself. And the director and I have been talking about that for the past 2 years. You'll also see we've had out of district placements, which goes back to instruction and goes back to classroom. So that's why we really all need to get on the same page. We have to start looking at that tier 1 instruction and the classroom teacher being able to support and teach the children in front of them.
Kelly, just my advice to people is when you look at this.
Oh, go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry. There was a delay.
Yeah, just look at it in the context of Newport and not try to do a comparison. Every community is different. I do have one more question, but go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say everybody's favorite topic, and I know I'm asking this in the 80th hour, but I've started to hear some murmurs that regionalization talks could start again. Is there anything happening with those discussions? For those who are only listening and not watching, that was a thumbs up and yes.
Can you elaborate at all?
No. Okay. This is video and audio, so yeah. How about Frank? Was that your last question?
That would be my last question. Yeah.
Superintendent, did you
Wouldn't
have
have
anything
gotten-
else
would have
that you wanted
no,
to
I have
talk
to
about
say-
today?
Colleen is a great mime.
Hey.
Anything else you had that you wanted to make sure that we talked about today?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow I have a parent advisory committee meeting at CCRI at 9:30. And to Frank's point, we will probably most likely be talking about the school report cards. Monday, January 6th, we'll be talking a lot about the furniture school building project at 5:30 at Pell. That's Monday the 6th. And that should be a good, very good meeting in the sense of if people want to see what's going to be going on inside the building, as well as the signage and what we're planning on the outside. For those that have children in high school, especially the junior year, they may want to attend, and I recommend Monday, January 13th, 5:30 at Rogers High School. We're going to have a FAFSA night. And for those who are going, what is FAFSA? FAFSA is a financial form to fill out for all children that are interested in getting some kind of financial aid or support or scholarship if they go beyond the high school years. School committee meeting will be January 14th. And believe it or not, half year, January 28th. And last week of January, we're at the half year mark. And that means second semester is starting to close. And those are the big things going on.
And I just wanted to mention that after the first of the year, you're going to begin your mime classes, correct?
I studied those a while ago.
Look at that.
Those are signals across the room, Frank.
I know the holiday art fair was last Saturday. Any other holiday events left or?
You know what? No, I think we've covered. Well, it's a closed event, but Thompson, Miss Dussel is having her famous pancake breakfast for grade 8 students Friday. I'm looking forward to that. That's an end of right before Christmas, right before the holidays event. And I want to thank Ms. Dussel, and I'm sure there are other 8th grade teachers helping out as well as parents. And I have to say the PTO over at Thompson has done an amazing job as far as the wreath making, working with the school department, working with Thompson and the Newport Community School. But they also had a great holiday, I think a holiday movie event this week, and they're doing little celebrations here and there in between their classes. So that's going well.
Excellent. And kids are out until January.
They come back on January 2nd, which I believe is a Thursday.
Yeah, it is.
So we need everyone in school on Thursday and Friday. No extending the vacation. Everyone.
There you go.
Thursday, Friday. Be here.
All right, Superintendent. Thanks for taking the time to tell us everything or not tell us everything.
Okay, anytime.
Have
a wonderful holiday, everyone, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I wish you health and happiness.
All right. That is Superintendent Colleen Burns-Jermain. We appreciate her taking the extra time with us today. We got an extra 18 minutes or so out of her today, Frank.
Important stuff, though. I think the these standardized tests, I think, are such a big deal. And I hear from all these superintendents, it's a challenge. They talk about teachers teaching to the tests rather than teaching to the students. And the career and technical education is really an example of that, where the kids are choosing their path and they're excelling at it. So hopefully we go in a good direction when it comes to that in the future.
In the link to those report cards for all schools, the Rhode Island Department of Education report cards is available at reportcard.ride.ri.gov. You can go by school district, by school. There are so many data points in there, so I encourage everybody to go visit. We'll link to it in our story.
Some of the numbers seem to be a little bit off. That MLL number seems low, and some other ones that at least in my mind seem a little bit questionable, but it's a measure.
That's it. We'll dive more into the data as we can. So, all right, Frank.
Very good. Thank you.
Right.
And like, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Happy holidays.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. If you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, all available on whatsupnuke.com. I'll turn a story around on this interview shortly. And of course, if you missed our conversation with Newport City Manager Colleen Kennedy earlier this morning, you can find that on our website already as well. Thanks for watching.